this video is going to be one of the most valuable videos on the internet about how to use Twitter for marketing. This is going to be a full Twitter marketing course. I'm going to teach you everything you need to know to number one, build an audience, and then number two, do cold outbound to instantly start monetizing your Twitter. But I know how hard it can be to actually start seeing results if you're starting from scratch or if you've never used Twitter as a marketing platform before. So that's why I've condensed my 2 years of Twitter marketing experience, over 5 million DMs sent, and hundreds of users using our platform. And so I have a really good pulse on what's working across the whole ecosystem. And with that, I'm going to teach you the ins and outs of Twitter marketing, what's working, what's not working, to make sure that you have everything you need to start monetizing your Twitter. If you stick around till the end, I will give you actionable steps that you can take to immediately start seeing results and start making money from Twitter, especially if you're an established business and you're already running successful either outbound or paid media campaigns. You can essentially take those, plug them into Twitter, and start seeing results with a whole new set of leads, which is a huge opportunity, especially right now that not a lot of big companies are taking advantage of. Twitter marketing can really be divided up into two main portions. So number one is going to be your content. It's going to be what people see about you online. And then pillar number two is going to be the outreach aspect of it. So the first thing you need to do is figure out who you are. Being authentic and letting people know maybe about some of your struggles, maybe some of your failures, really helps people engage with your content because they'll see that you're an actual human and it's not just you kind of being another bot or someone just trying to sell them something. So I've found that the easiest way to go about this is by answering a couple questions about yourself, and then I'm going to leave the link down below in the description. So these are the questions and I have them already filled out, but I'll walk you through them. So it's going to be, what have you failed at? Number one, what lessons have you learned? What was your upbringing like? What are your strengths and weaknesses? And then what unique experiences have shaped you? And I feel like this combination of questions, you can probably get done within like 10 minutes, but they're able to give you a really, really good starting point. So essentially the point behind this is that this will be the backbone of your Twitter content strategy. You can go back to this worksheet when you don't have any ideas on what to write to kind of come up with new stuff. So what have you failed at? Maybe you failed your first business like I did just a couple months ago before I dropped out of law school. I failed my first ever test. Maybe you asked a girl out and maybe it didn't go the way you planned. Or me specifically, I went homeless in Japan for a whole week and I was 18 years old. So it was crazy. I didn't even know how to speak Japanese. Another really good question is, what lessons have you learned? So obviously speed is king, quality over quantity, taking care of customers. And these are just some of my learnings. And also that failure maybe isn't the worst thing in the world. Had a couple experiences back when I was younger that literally just told me to not worry about things and then to think about it in the frame of what's the worst thing that can happen. Kind of what shaped you, what lessons have you learned? These are some really, really good questions that will help you write really, really personal content that people will be able to relate to, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what you want to do. Social media is meant to be a way for you to engage, to interact with other people. And so if you're your genuine self, there really is no better way to do that. And then I'm capable way more than I give myself credit for. This is also a pretty big one. And this comes from just kind of overcoming these challenges, right? So I guess it's like, what challenges have you faced? What have you failed at? What have you learned from those same challenges? And another really good question is, what was your upbringing like? You'll be really, really surprised to find either that your upbringing was really, really similar to a bunch of other people, or that it was the complete opposite to a bunch of other people. And so it tends to be stuff that people can relate to, or people can be like, oh shit, yeah, no, like I grew up way different. In my experience, it was very family centered. It was always a close group of friends. I played a bunch of sports. God has always been a huge part of my life. This is one that some people find funny, that I lived and went to school in different countries for like 12 years of my life. That's a pretty fun one. So again, what was your upbringing like? Just kind of general context, because once again, you do want to be very value driven when you're writing content, but you also don't want to forget the human to human aspect of it. At the end of the day, every single sort of sale is human to human. I got this from a book, Unreasonable Hospitality. Great book. I highly recommend you check it out. But every sale, even if you're in B2B or B2C, every sale just ends up being human to human. Another one, what are your strengths and weaknesses? For me, I have very good ability to figure things out. Pretty good with people, I'd say. I tend to get stressed out a ton. Procrastination is a little bit of an issue. And then what unique experiences have shaped you? So kind of unique stuff that not a lot of people maybe around you have gone through. I lived in Japan. I went to law school. I played for a pro soccer club. I'm running a business at a young age. I know maybe in the internet space, it's very, very common, but I can pretty much guarantee that if you're running a business and if you ran a business when you were young, you're probably one of the only people around in your circle that did it. Happens to me. I don't have any IRL friends that actually run businesses. Everyone is just kind of at jobs or still at school or whatever, which is completely fine, but it's not something that's super typical. And I think just having that perspective is really, really important. But just having this bank, filling out these questions will serve as the backbone for all of your content. Why? Because when you start sharing your own experiences, then you can kind of start tying in the business aspect of it. You can start providing value through these, and then you can start selling your products or services or whatever it is that you want to do. And so one thing to keep in mind whenever you're writing content is that authenticity will always cut through the noise. The CEO of retention.com and rbtob.com has been going absolutely viral on LinkedIn, and literally all the guy does is just he shares what's happening with his companies, given his companies are pretty decently sized. I think RB2B is doing $250K a month. And retention.com is probably doing way more than that, but he just shares kind of what's going on with his life, what's going on with his business. He just shares everything on LinkedIn. His stats are visible on Barometrics for RB2B, and so kind of that level of transparency and just being your true self online really pays off. And so once you have your content backbone good to go and you know exactly who you are and what you can write about, not in regards to business or value-based content, more in regards of your personal experiences and what makes you unique, then you want to start thinking about who your ideal customer is, your ICP. You probably heard that buzzword. You need to start thinking, number one, who they are, and then number two, where they hang out on Twitter or X, if you want to call it that. This is honestly like one of the most important steps. You want to write content that will attract your ideal customer. And here you do want to be super specific. You want to reach out to B2B companies between 50 and 100 employees. Let's say that's your ideal customer. If that's your ideal customer, you don't want to write about what it takes to start a business. And you probably don't want to write about how to make your first 10K online, because those guys, if they're running a business between 50 to 100 employees, odds are they already know what they're doing. Focusing your content to fit who they are and to fit who you're actually trying to attract is super key. And I feel like people tend to forget that. JK Molina talks about this all the time. Whale bait against fish bait. You always want to change your messaging or your content, the way you write. You want to change that according to who it is that you want to attract. If you're reaching out to people that are starting out, don't talk to them about hiring 100 people company. Talk to them about how to make their first 10K online. But if you're reaching out to the founder of a Fortune 500 company, then you don't want to talk to them about how to make your first 10K online, if that makes sense. So just kind of knowing exactly who your ICP is, and then knowing how they want to be talked to, knowing what language they use and using their same language so that that's who you end up attracting. In order to do this, you need to know exactly who they are, what problems they have, and then what their vocabulary is like so that you can use their same lingo and then end up attracting them, because you'll be perceived as if you're one of them or as if you can help them specifically, depending on when you're watching this. But I can pretty much guarantee that most people are not going for those bigger guys. Most people are just kind of teaching other people how to scale to 10K a month. So if you want to pierce through the noise and go to the top of the food chain, then adjusting your messaging in that way will be the key to actually get this done. And so those three questions, I also highly recommend that you start filling them out. So for example, who is your perfect client? For us, it is B2B companies in the US with 11 to 50 employees that are already running successful outbound campaigns for themselves or for their customers, right? This can go above the 50 employee range, but most of our case studies are from B2B companies in the US with between 11 and 50 employees that are, again, already running successful outbound campaigns. Why? Because if they have a successful outbound campaign that they've been running, say via cold email or via cold LinkedIn, that is already working, then they can pretty much just take that, plug it into Twitter, and then they're going to have another really successful campaign, but with new leads that no one else in their niche has ever reached out to, which is a huge plus, and which is why we love Twitter so much. That's the first thing. Who is your perfect client? Number two, what are their main concerns? So our perfect client, again, is already running cold outreach, a ton of cold outreach, and they probably depend on cold outreach to keep growing their business. Some of their main problems are that, number one, they're concerned with all of the cold email issues that are going down right now. So deliverability issues, landing in spam, reply rates going down, etc. And then also, if these guys have been running a ton of volume through cold email for the past 5 or 10 years, then odds are they're running out of leads to reach out to. So they just need need another lead source to reach out to. They need to find another way to kind of fill that gap, because maybe they were sending 100,000 cold emails a month back in the day. And they've been doing that for the last couple of years. Now, maybe they ran out of leads, so they don't have anyone else to reach out to, or there's times during the year where they just can't reach out to people because everyone has been reached out to and they just have to wait for those new leads to pop up or whatever it might be. They're looking for new ways to fill the gaps that either cold email or cold LinkedIn has for them. And also the fact that sometimes cold outreach is very unpredictable. So they're looking for ways to make that less unpredictable by adding a lead source that not very many people have jumped on just because no one really knows that it exists. And number 3 is going to be what type of content is going to bring them in. This is just knowing in depth who your target audience is. What do they watch on YouTube? What books are they reading? What podcasts do they listen to? Do they even listen to podcasts at all? Do they read books or do they not? Or do they just listen to music? Like, what type of content do they consume? And then just produce more of the content that you know they already consume. In our experience, it is educational content, how-to content, business content, personal content in regards to finances, real estate, investing content. So that's the type of content that our audience consumes. And so that's the type of content that we produce. And so now that we know exactly who you are and who your ICP is, we can actually start writing content based off of your unique experiences. And the first step to do that is actually by optimizing your profile. If you've ever done cold outreach in the past, you know that having a really good landing page is vital. Your Twitter profile is the equivalent of a landing page with Twitter marketing. In less than 10 seconds, you need to establish your authority and let people know that you actually know what you're talking about. Why? Because people will either like what you're doing, they'll follow you, or they will just click off and forget about who you are. And so obviously making a really great first impression is vital and key. So this is the formula that I've found to work the best. Number 1, you need a really just clean profile picture that shows people your face. Secondly, for example, here, my cover photo is super basic. It is literally just a black screen with the Drippy logo. What I've seen other people do that works also really well is just showing results. I've had that in the past, but this I just feel looks really clean and nice, and it just kind of fits the aesthetic that I like. I have growing and then a link to Drippy, right? So this is my personal link to Drippy, drippy.ai. This will redirect you to the done for you landing page. And I have a link to our YouTube channel where essentially people can click and people can see what we are up to. So people can have a look and be like, okay, these guys have client results in here. These guys have well edited videos. People can click around and see that, okay, this guy knows a little bit about what he's doing. Just keeping everything clean, making it super transparent, super obvious about what we do. And then also having a decent amount of followers is very important. The actual amount of followers isn't the most important thing. As long as you don't look like a robot, you'll be fine. And then also something that I highly recommend is having a pinned video. Here I have a pinned video with one of our best case studies, 128K cash collected, 161 sales calls in 30 days for a client. So again, this is a very well edited video from our YouTube channel that will autoplay. So if I refresh, the video will just autoplay directly and people can start seeing kind of what it is. Within the first 5 seconds, people see my profile picture. They see I have almost 8,000 followers. They will see our case studies. They will have a link to our YouTube and they'll be like, okay, just right off the bat, this guy is going ham with content. Now that you know exactly who you are, you know exactly who your customers are and how you want to talk to them specifically when you're writing content, and we have a really nice profile. Now what we want to do is we want to talk about the perfect content strategy. So obviously there is no one size fits all here, but there are some pointers that the best content people always follow, which is what I try to follow as well. So I'm just going to share my experiences with you. We do get a ton of inbound from this Twitter account. So there is no one size fits all when it comes to the content strategy. Some things will work for some niches, some things will work for other niches. You just have to test, okay? At the end of the day, every type of marketing is just testing until you find something that works, and then testing against that to find something that works even better than that, then just kind of moving up the baseline. But if I had to say what the best content creation strategy on Twitter is as of right now, and what I run personally, this would be it. So it's a combination of a couple of things. So we have long form threads to attract new people into our funnel. We have specific tweets talking about exactly what we do, and these are going to be super related to our offers. Sometimes we do auto DMs, again, to attract more people and to give out value. We do comments as well and cold DMs. And so what's really nice about this whole funnel is that not not only will it attract new people, but it will also hit people that you know exactly fit your ICP with specific content that we tailor to them based off of the previous research we did in terms of who you are and who your ICP is. And so you end up with a really, really effective sales funnel where you're bringing in new people, you're nurturing people about why your solution is the best, you give people value through auto DMs or just through tweets, and then you can DM them to finish off the sale. And so the overlying philosophy here is giving in public and asking in private. And so that brings us to the next session, which is, okay, how do we actually write banger tweets? So we're going to start off with threads, and my content team has honestly been insane when it comes to threads. But what I've learned from them is that the hook is always the most important thing. This specific thread ended up getting me over 5,000 new followers, and Elon Musk ended up freaking commenting on it. So if we go here, I think very highly of it, and I've learned a lot from him, but we unfortunately only got to know each other around 2007. And this is the actual guy. Whenever you're writing a thread, there's a couple reasons as to why you're writing a thread. So you're either educating your audience like I did with that thread, you're establishing your credibility, or you're trying to build rapport and connecting with your audience. And so no matter what the purpose is, these usually boil down to a couple different types of threads. And so we have list threads where essentially you just educate people. So you'll see these on Twitter all the time. So list of 7 books that Elon Musk XYZ. So you're just educating your audience. You're letting them know. It's kind of super simple. List threads are really, really popular. Story threads where you tell a story. I'm going to give you an example of these here at the end. How-to threads when you teach people how to do something. And then case study threads as well. They're really, really good. We'll go into some examples here, but there is a format for all these threads. This is definitely a writer downer, so take your notes out. So number one, you need a hook, and the hook is the most important thing. If your hook sucks, no one's going to read the rest of the content. So everything you need from a hook is essentially just to grab someone's attention, and you want to think of it as, okay, the first line sells the reader on reading the next line, and the second line sells the reader on reading the third line. So you need your hook to sell the reader on reading the rest of the article, and then each subsequent line should keep selling the reader on why they should keep reading. But again, the hook is the most important part of it. If you have a shitty hook, it's just not going to work. Then you're going to get into the body, which is where you actually deliver the core content clearly and concisely. And then at the end, you have a call to action where you instruct people on what to do. And you typically only want to have one call to action. You need to tell people exactly what they need to do and go straight to the point. Like, hey, subscribe down below, or like, hey, there's a link down below in the description for you to book a call with me, or whatever it is. You can have a couple call to actions within the thread, but keep it short, sweet, to the point. And typically at the end is where the call to action comes, and you just want there to be one. And so I'm going to show you a couple of these tweets. And again, I'm going to leave these down below, but I guess the one I showed you is a really good example of an educational type of thread where it's, hey, this is the man that mentored both Elon Musk and Steve Jobs. So again, this is the hook, and pictures typically work well. If you see a tweet of someone that mentored both Elon Musk and Steve Jobs, they're both kind of goats when it comes to the business game. And then you see a name that you probably don't know, but it's like, oh shit, why don't I know this guy? And then here's the blueprint. So it's like, oh shit, what? I need to read this, which is why it went so viral and why freaking Elon Musk ended up commenting on it. So that is one example. And this is an example of a how-to video. Okay. So it's also educational. This is how I book calls with qualified people through Twitter. This is how I get a 17.8% reply rate with 230 replies. And again, the most important thing is going to be the hook. So, hey, most cold DMs get ignored. This is because most of them suck. Generic, needy, cringe. How to craft cold DMs. This got 5,000 views. Obviously not even a slight fraction of what the other one got. But then at the end, there is a call to action. So, hey, if you want me to implement these into your business, I have a few spots left. We'll help you add 100+ sales calls to your calendar per month. DM me scale and I'll send it over. And there is a link to send me a DM. So again, super, super clear call to action. And then within the body is where I teach people how to actually do what the hook promises. So here's another example of, hey, I've sent over 5 million cold DMs so far, so you don't have to. Again, this is another how-to. It has the same call to action in the same style of threads. This one got 3,000 views. So this story thread is honestly one of my favorite threads ever. Got 13,000 views, which actually performed better than the other ones and nowhere close to where the Elon Musk one got. But hey, when I was 19, I got kicked out of my house in Japan. So it's like, oh shit, what? So people that know me, they know I'm not from Japan. But at 19 years old, I got kicked out of the house. I was homeless for a week in a country where I didn't even speak the language. Most difficult and transformative event in my life. And here's the story and what I learned. But essentially, same thing. You have a really good hook, you have a picture, and then you go into a story. And then this right here is a case study thread. So, hey, I recently helped a client sign a $7,000 a month deal just by sending 30 cold DMs. So this is a case study / list thread where essentially I say something that we did for a client and then we go into how we did it. Now that you have the framework for how to write really, really good threads, here's how you want to write really good tweets. You want to at least be tweeting 2 to 3 times per day. There isn't a rule book that says how many tweets you actually have to put out, but 2 to 3 tweets every single day tends to do the job. So there's a couple different ones. So there's how-tos, there's tips and tricks, there's hacks, there's call to actions, and then there's short lists of advice. And another one would be kind of just those generic, kind of you just wake up and you just write whatever. Honestly, it can help to just build a better connection with your audience because again, it shows that, hey, it's not just kind of this guy trying to sell me something. It's this guy that might be trying to sell me something, but has my best interest in mind and has a really good sense of humor. And so here are some examples. So this is a little bit of a quick tip or a quick hack. This is another one, underrated combo, organic content plus cold outreach. Another one, my number one rule for cold DM script, making it look new. It has to be something different than what your prospect sees before. In the whole cold email world, there's a lot of people doing cold outreach. And so a really good rule of thumb is to just make it new, right? When you were doing research about who your ICP is, you should build out a list of essentially the problems that they have. And if you don't have that kind of off the top of your head, you can either ask ChatGPT or you can write down all the objections that you get during your sales calls. This is one of the most underrated tips ever. So write down every single objection that you get during sales calls, especially the ones that lead to people not buying from you. Okay, write those down, write how you were overcome those objections, and then make an effort to tweet out those things every single day. So answer at least one of those questions every single day through content so that whenever someone hops on a call, if it's someone that follows you, they will already know and they won't hit you with that objection, because with your content answering these questions, in their mind, that's not even an objection anymore. So if you can keep track of every single objection that you've ever gotten, and you can just answer those objections through your content, I can pretty much guarantee that your sales calls will be 10 times easier because of doing that. So if you are just constantly putting out tweets that answer people's questions in regards to your product or service, then I can pretty much guarantee that your life will be 10 times easier and the sales calls will just be a breeze. Another thing you really want to do is personality tweets. Okay, so personality tweets, like the one I showed you from Japan, that tweet, I swear, every single call I've topped on, people have mentioned that. It didn't go mega viral or anything, got maybe like 13,000 views like you were able to see, but just kind of connecting with people at that level and being super, super vulnerable, it just makes people interested. It just makes it super fun because when that was happening, I wasn't enjoying it. But now looking back, it's been maybe 5 or 6 years. It's kind of super awesome to kind of look through and be like, wow, that really happened. And like, obviously everything is fine. And it makes people kind of get to know you to a deeper level. And they really, really appreciate that. And so whenever you hop on a call and someone has read any of your tweets being really personal or some of your personal stories, you can kind of talk about that. It just breaks the ice way quicker. Why? Because people feel like they actually know you and not just kind of like someone that's just posting numbers all the time. And then another one that you do not want to forget about that we haven't talked about are social proof posts. So social proof posts, it's going to be your pin post. Social proof posts, again, when someone looks at my profile, the first thing they look at is going to be the well-edited video that is pinned to the top of my channel with 161 sales calls, 120K cash collected in 30 days. So right off the bat, people will look at me just a little tiny bit different, right? And that video has all the proof in the world so that there is literally no doubts of whether or not what I say I can do, right? So right off the bat, it's like, hey, here's a video of me talking through one of our best case studies, and probably one of the best case studies you'll ever find on Twitter. And so I highly, highly recommend that if you have a really, really good tweet, or if you have some sort of kind of content or value-based content that you typically give to prospects, if you can show that publicly, then I highly recommend you do, because it's just going to make, again, your life way easier when it comes to selling through Twitter content and through Twitter DMs. We're going to get into the second pillar of Twitter marketing as a whole. This is cold DMs. There is this philosophy that everyone talks about, which is give in public and ask in private. And there is no better way to accomplish that than by following this video, right? So you're providing a ton of value through your content, and that's your giving. And then you are asking in the DMs. I'm going to show you some of our best performing scripts that have generated over 200 book demos for ourselves in a single calendar month and over 161 sales calls in in just 30 days for some of our clients. So on Twitter, there's a couple people that you can't reach out to. Number one, people that blocked you for whatever reason, so you can't DM them. And number two, people that have their DMs closed. And based off of our experiences, typically 30% of people will have their DMs closed. So whenever you are making a list, you either want to double check to make sure that people have their DMs open, or you want to just kind of take those numbers into consideration. So say, for example, you have a list of 1,000 people, just say that anywhere between 30 to 40% of those will not actually have their DMs open. So you just want to make sure you take that into account whenever you're doing or you're planning your outreach. The reason why we do this is that not every single client that you're going to get through Twitter is just going to fall into your lap. Maybe they're following you. Maybe they have interacted with a couple of your tweets. Maybe they've interacted with a couple of your longer threads. Maybe they've interacted with some of your educational content. Maybe they interacted, maybe they liked, maybe they're kind of those people that don't really post a lot, but you know they're there because they're liking your stuff every once in a while, okay? And so that is why you always want to also be reaching out to them, right? Not just kind of let everything happen. You want to make your own luck, and through Twitter DMs, you're able to do this. And so ideally, you want to set aside at least, and this is at the very least, 20 minutes a day to do your outreach every single day. I recommend you do a couple hours, at least 1 hour. It is literally the first thing I do every single morning. Check all my stats, and then I get into a couple hours of outreach just because I know that is the main needle mover of our business. And so the main thing that you want to think about when you're doing Twitter DMs is big value fast. That's one of the things. And then the second thing that you want to think about is that the best method to do any sort of outreach, not just Twitter outreach, is max personalization. And that is exactly why I love Twitter outreach so much. Twitter, literally, if you go into the Twitter terms of service, last time I checked, it was 500 messages per day per account. So that is pretty much the equivalent of 10 email inboxes, and you can get as many Twitter accounts as you'd like. So volume can get up there, and with some AI tools or with a bunch of people, you can personalize all these messages to make sure every single message you're sending out is highly personalized. And just another quick tip before we get into the actual scripts that have worked for us tremendously well. The number one tip I can give you in terms of script writing, which we're going to get into, is that the easiest way to get your one-on-one copy ignored is to make it seem as if it is one too many. So there is this common misconception. We get this a lot with our done for you clients, right? People will come in and be like, yo, this ad is working tremendously well. Can we just take that copy, plug it into Twitter DMs? Will that work? Yes and no. No, that same copy won't work, but the angles and kind of the thought behind that specific ad will work, right? So you just want to change the format, not have it feel like ad copy, obviously, okay? Because again, ad copy, one to many, right? You publish your ad, you pay for your ads to be shown to a lot of people, but your Twitter DMs will only be sent out to the specific people that you decide to send to. The easiest way to get your one-on-one messages completely ignored is to make it seem as if it is a one-to-many sort of communication. Obviously, there's a bunch of ways to do this. You can go ahead and do this manually. Like you can literally just go into Twitter and find people, reach out to them, send them a personalized message. But unless you have a really big team, or you just want to do outreach all freaking day, which if you're starting out, then by all means. But if you maybe have over 5-10 employees and you kind of have a team that can do this, honestly, the best way to go about it is either just leverage people or leverage code, which is what I'm going to show you how to do right now. And that is exactly why we decided to build drippy.ai, because it's going to give you max personalization, max volume in literally the easiest way possible. So I'm going to show you these 3 scripts right here, especially the top 2 are the most effective scripts that pretty much have ever been written for Twitter outreach. Okay. I don't know anyone that has better case studies than us with these specific scripts. So this first one is booking us around 200 demos every single month. And this one right here is hitting consistent 100+ months every single month. And this is our best agency case study. So if you want us to take care of pretty much everything we talked about on this video, there's going to be a Calendly link down below. But with this specific script, we got one of our clients 161 sales calls and 128K cash collected. Let me walk you through why these are winning scripts. So big value fast, that's number one. And then you also want to remember max personalization and max volume. Okay, so here we go. We start off with a little spin tax and then, hey, hello, hi, first name. Can I send over a list of 1K? And then we say, so this is an AI prompt, right? So again, if you use Drippy AI, you can leverage AI to actually personalize your messages based off of not only their Twitter profile, but also any links that our AI can find about that person. So essentially, use the lead's website to determine who their ideal customer might be and insert a list of 2 to 4 job titles for customer types that fit their ideal customer profile here. And so essentially what we're asking AI is to look for who they target. So let's just say we are reaching out to marketing agencies for doctors. The message would read, hey Joe, can I send over a list of 1,000 doctors who might be interested in, and then the second AI prompt reads, describe the product or service that the lead is advertising on their site here. Keep this very brief, use as few words as possible. So essentially what this means is the message will end up reading, hey John, can I send over a list of 1,000 doctors who might be interested in your marketing services? Or it will get really, really specific. So if this was a video editing agency, it would say, hey, can I send over a list of 1,000 doctors who might be interested in your video editing services? And then we say totally free, of course. So this is a super, super personalized message. Number one, we're providing a ton of value. Number two, why? Because we're literally giving out free lead lists in their niche. And then number three, we have a ton of volume going out, which leads to 200 bookings literally every single month, or around 200 bookings every single month. And messages like these, this is literally one of those campaigns. 2.3 thousand messages sent, 286 replies. That is a 12.6% reply rate. And we're still getting replies. Sure, why not? Very much appreciate that. The prompts aren't perfect. If you're a prompt expert, you can probably make these prompts way better, but you just want to figure out max volume, max personalization, and then big value fast. And if you can do that through your copy, that again is one-to-one, not one-to-many, you are going to win at Twitter outreach. Number two is a PR agency outreach. It has the same exact thing. So we're running a ton of accounts, and this one doesn't specifically provide value, but it removes the risk completely from the prospect side, right? So all the risk here is on us, not on the prospect, which is why this works so well. So this one reads like this. So it says, hey, hello, hi, first name. So that's pretty standard for all our messages. We've got media requests and think you'd be a great fit because, and then this is the magic, we use AI to say, insert custom compliment that has something to do with the person we're messaging. It's not a super ChatGPT made prompt that is going to leave every automation expert in the dust. Like, no, it's super straightforward. And that's what's so nice about Drippy, that you don't need to be an expert in prompting. Our AI is trained in such a way that it'll know exactly what to say as long as you just kind of give it the right context. Insert custom compliment that has something to do with the person you're messaging. And then we say, would you be interested? We are purely pay on results. You'd only pay once you're published, right? So that's the spin text. We're hitting people with a really enticing offer that removes all of the risk from their side. We have a ton of personalization because we're using AI to say insert custom comment that has something to do with the person we're messaging. So depending on what they have in their bio, depending on what we can find from their website, it is going to complement them and say why they're well suited for the media requests that we have. And then again, big value fast. So we're just reducing risk and we're giving that like, hey, it's pretty much free until we're published. Very personalized, and we've got a ton of volume, right? So that's why that worked. Now, another one that people don't talk about nearly enough is reaching out to your followers pretty much as soon as they follow you, or within a couple minutes. I'm going to show you how to do this within Drippy, but we're just talking about scripts here. Essentially, you can set up automations on Drippy where every time someone follows you that fits a specific criteria, they will be sent a specific message or series of messages as I have shown here. So essentially, every time someone from the US that the AI can tell is from the US follows me, they're going to get these 4 messages. And these are 4 different messages. And so I've hopped on calls with people follow me, and then I forget that I have this on. And then afterwards, they're like, oh shit, Alex, dude, we just talked about that. And I'm like, yo, that was Drippy, that was an AI. And they're like, what the like, how did that even work? They don't expect it. So here, essentially, it's again, same thing with hello, hi, first name. And then we say, really dig the concept behind business name. And this is Drippy will pull in this data. Do you have data on who typically buys from you the most? And then we say, also, there's a feature within Drippy where you can send a couple different messages. So you can split messages essentially by just hitting return or having like space between your messages. So this is going to be the first message that the prospect sees, or that whoever follows us will see. Then they're going to get another message, and then we're going to say, really dig the concept behind business name. Do you have data on who typically buys from you the most? So that's going to be the second message. And if you have like 4 messages that are really, really personalized, people will have no freaking clue that it's automated. And then this is where AI comes in. Also, use the lead's website and profile to determine the city or country where they're based and ask them if they're based there. Don't include the state. So then we say like, hey, also, are you based in San Diego? And then we say, look up a cool spot in that city that not very many people except for locals would know, and let them know you've always wanted to visit and that I've heard great things. And then I say, ha ha ha, ever been? So essentially, if this was San Diego, it would say, also, are you San Diego based? And then I would say, have you been to La Jolla? I've heard great things about it. I've always wanted to visit. Haha, ever been? It's kind of like, how does this guy know so much about me? Whenever you reach out to someone that just followed you, right? Because they followed you for a reason. They probably followed you because they liked one of your threads, one of your tweets, whatever, or they found out about you. Maybe they saw one of your YouTube videos, whatever it might be. And then you hit them up with 4 super personalized messages. So now I'm going to show you exactly how to set all of these up. First thing you want to do is you want to click the link down below in the description or go to drippy.ai and you can start your free trial. You're going to get a 7-day free trial or 250 messages, whichever comes first. After you make your account, you're going to go ahead and sign in. And then after you have your account, once you're good to go, I want to go to find leads. There's 3 main things that you want to focus on with Drippy. So number 1 is find leads. Number 2 is automation. Super easy to find leads. Essentially, you just go to find leads and then you hit new lead source. Then you go to lead scraper. So our lead scraper is super easy to use. You just go to account source and then you can literally plug in any Twitter link and then it's just going to scrape everyone that follows that account. And so essentially all you need to do is you need to figure out who your target audience follows on Twitter. And then once you have that, you're pretty much good to go. Let's just say you're targeting SaaS founders and you know that SaaS founders typically follow Dan Martell. So we're going to go ahead and do Dan Martell right here. Dan Martell is a SaaS coach. So we're just going to take his link and then we're going to go back into Drippy. We're going to paste this link and now it's going to start loading and then it's going to let you decide what you want to actually import. So you can do followers, you can do following, you can do one or the other, or you can do both. Then we're going to add source. You can add as many sources as you like. You're only limited by your amount of lead credits that you can check if you go to your settings. And then once you're ready to go, so here we have 77,000 potential leads. You can add as many accounts in here as you like. Then all you have to do is hit next. And then what I really like about Drippy is you can narrow these down super well. Literally all you have to do is you just go to bio and then you just need to figure out what keywords the ideal audience has in their bio. So for Dan Martell, I would just do following, and he's probably following a bunch of other SaaS people. So I would just go through this list and be like, okay, what I want to work with this guy. Yes. Okay. What does he have? 3 times SaaS founder. So he has the word founder in there and the word SaaS. So I'm going to do SaaS. I'm going to do founder, and then you can just add as many keywords as you'd like. And I would just kind of keep going down. So T was another big SaaS guy. Founder, he's another one. Building is another good one. And then in public's another big one. And then you essentially just keep going until you feel like you have enough keywords. SaaS marketing, right? So if you want to hit SaaS marketers, so you just add as many keywords as you like. And then once you have keywords that would essentially fit your whole ICP, you would hit add filter, and then you're going to see the 77,000 leads. Essentially that number will go down to fit however many people follow or are followed by Dan Martell and have at least one of these keywords in their bio. So here we go. It went all the way down to 24,000 leads. Another one that I really like doing is number of followers. And I always do at least 100 just to make sure you're not getting any bots in there. So if we do 100, then from 24,000, it's going to narrow down to 22. So now we have a pretty solid list. Again, I would add kind of more keywords. You can also exclude keywords. So if you know who doesn't fit, maybe agency guys. So agency, or like any keywords related to agencies that you don't want to reach out to, you can add that in exclude bio content. And then once you're good to go there, you just hit next, then you just give it a name, and then pretty much you are good to go. So then you just want to hit new cold DM automation right here, or you can go to automation, new automation, cold DM 2.0, and then all of your lead sources are going to show up here. So I'm just going to find the one that we just did. Once you select your lead source, then it's going to prompt you to select the AI message generator type. And so essentially the 2 options here are, do I want AI to enhance my message, or do I want AI to kind of just do whatever it wants? I recommend going with the script personalizer, which is essentially just the AI will enhance your message. So I always select that. Then you can go to configure message, and then this is where things start getting interesting. So there's 3 main sections here that you want to have a look at. The first section is the context section. So this is context so that the AI knows exactly who it is that it's writing for. Just going to write context about yourself, the business, the offer that you're trying to essentially outreach with. Here for Drippy, I would say we help B2B companies book more meetings through highly personalized Twitter DMs. That's the context. You don't really need to give it a ton. As long as it knows what you do, what you are, then you're pretty much going to be good to go. If you're not going to be using AI, I would just do a space in here. It's not going to let you proceed if you don't at least have a space. That's the first thing. Then you go into script. And then this is where essentially you're just going to plug in your script. If you're using variables, remember to use the variables that are in here. So for example, if you're already doing cold email and you have scripts that are working, then you just want to make sure you're changing up the variables so that your messages don't end up looking like trash. That is super, super key. And then again, after you're done writing your script, then you want to go to settings. And if you're using AI, these are the exact settings you want to have. AI creativity set to 1.3, split messages either turned on or off, depending on what you want your message to look like. Going back to these examples, if you have split messages turned on, this would send 4 messages, but if you have it turned off, then this is just going to be one big message. And these are just going to be kind of spaces within the same message bubble, if you will. 1.3 for creativity if you're going to use AI. If you're not going to use AI, then turn this all the way down. Also, if you're using AI, make sure you are on the advanced version of the AI, top right-hand corner. And then you want to include website context. So we want to turn that on and then do all websites. And then we want to include tweet content. We're going to turn that on. And then we're going to do all recent tweets. So you want to give the AI as much information as you can to make sure you're sending the best messages possible. Once you're done there, you're just going to hit next. You can add variables if you'd like. So essentially this will help you A/B test. It's very, very straightforward. You can just add a variance. And if you don't know what variance you want to write, you can hit generate. It's going to give you variance for you to go ahead and test. So I'm just going to X out of there for now. We're going to skip. And then you can set as many follow-ups as you'd like. So typically we just do 2 messages 3 and 4 days later. But you can pretty much just run with whatever you'd like, whatever works for you. I have a buddy that was running one of the most successful campaigns ever on Twitter. This guy had a 40% reply rate and he was running 8 different follow-ups. Don't be afraid to follow up. There is a ton of money to be made in the follow-ups. And so these essentially are messages that will be sent if someone doesn't answer. Once they reply, the follow-up sequences obviously get stopped. So we're just going to delete these for now. There we go. We're just going to do next. And then this is super, super key as well. So essentially what you want to do once you get to the final screen is you want to hit show advanced settings. This will allow you to go in a little bit more in depth into who exactly you're going to be reaching out to. So you can select AI location. So let's say you know that your ICP is only in the US, UK, Canada. Then you can select that in here and you can select by countries. And then you can either do include unknown or exclude unknown. And then you can turn this on or off right here. So that's number 1. Number 2, AI language check. Again, pretty much the same thing, just kind of another level to the filtering. You can also decide to turn on activity check. So for example, if you know that your ICP is typically active on Twitter, then you can move this slider and select my guys are typically active within the last 2 weeks. So then you can just turn that on. Auto like. If you're running your personal account, I wouldn't recommend auto like, but if you're running a ton of accounts, running a ton of volume, then I would definitely recommend you do auto like on all of those accounts. Skip previously contacted, super, super key so that you're not double hitting people that you've already messaged. And then do not contact list. So you can add a DNC list in the settings in case there are specific people that you do not want to reach out to by any means. It's typically friends and family, competition, current clients, etc. And then prevent cross-account duplicates. So a lot of people always question whether like, hey, Alex, if I add 15 accounts to my Drippy account, will the same people get the same message from different accounts? Answer is no, as long as you have this toggle turned on. If you are just starting out, I recommend you send 6 messages per hour and then work your way up to 16 messages per hour. And then once you're there, you're pretty much good to go. You hit start automation and then you are sending messages. That is how to set up Drippy for the first 2. Now I'm going to send you this a little bonus. I'm going to show you how to set up the follower outreach. All right, so pretty much the same exact thing. All you need to do is you just need to go to automation. You're going to do new automation and then you're going to do auto DM new follower. So the one at the bottom, okay? You're going to select that and then essentially the exact same steps except for the lead source. So you don't need to select the lead source at all. Generator type, script personalizer, once again, configure message. Again, you want to select the context. You want it to be whatever it is that you do. And then you want to turn on the advanced settings. And then for script, here is the script that I told you guys that I'm running. And then you want to go to settings and make sure split messages is turned on so that whenever you're reaching out to someone, it looks like this. That's also another thing I forgot to mention. So you always want to hit generate before actually sending messages just to make sure you know exactly what the messages will look like. So if you hit generate, it's really, really nice because you'll be able to test your prompts, see if you like what the AI is coming up with. And then just once you have something that works, just double down on that and add as many accounts as you can. For example, we have, hi Mimi, thanks for the follow. Really do the concept behind your work because it couldn't find their company name. Do you have data on who to be best for me the most? Also, are you based in Charleston? I always wanted to visit the Charleston city market. I've heard great things about it. Haha, ever been. 4 different messages that this person is getting automatically after they follow us, and they're gonna be like, yo, what the heck? Like, this guy actually did their research. They know I'm based in Charleston, and then they look something up in my city that not a lot of people know, but I've probably been to. And then they're gonna be like, yeah, I've been there a bunch of times. My husband or my wife loves going there or whatever, right? So it just works out really, really well. And then again, you can add as many variants as you like in here. So you can split test kind of different things, and then you can add as many follow-ups as you'd like. And then you can do, if you only want to reach out to a specific type of follower, you can also do that. AI location check, again, you can do that. AI language check, and then AI activity check. And here, the only difference between this and the other one is that you can select send warm DM 1 minute after the user follows, 1 hour, 1 day. You can do whatever you want essentially. Typically 5 to 10 minutes works really well. Or I've also seen people do it like a month after they follow you, and then that works well. It's a lot less salesy, if you will, but if you're able to get this level of personalization, then it's really not salesy at all if you can provide the value. So that is the little extra on how to set up an automation to every single person that follows you so that you can collect that cash from people that have already shown interest in what you do. And so that's it. This is probably one of the longer videos on this channel, but I hope you enjoyed. I hope you got a ton of value from it. And if you want to check out Drippy for yourself, there is going to be a link down below in the description for you to start your free trial. Once again, you're going to get 7 days for free or 250 messages, whichever comes first. And then if you want us to take care of everything Twitter marketing related, book a call with me down below. There's going to be a Calendly link. And that is pretty much it. I appreciate you so much for watching, and we will speak soon. Peace.